серьезные профессионалы, серьезный опыт. Тайлер довольно молодой парень, и от него можно ждать осечек. От Шейна, понятно, ждать можно только безошибочной игры, поэтому, ну, тут, как обычно, можно сказать, что все всегда будет зависеть от нас. Ну, вот. Идеально сыграем, там, в общем-то, без разницы. Вот. Но, конечно, пара крутая. Хотя, в общем, в их сборной, наверное, дырок сейчас нет.
Я буду себя чувствовать комфортно. Более мы уже играли. В прошлом челлендже мы выиграли. Очень хорошая игра была. Мы готовы.
I'm not worried about it. His cue ball is so good, so as long as he does his job, I'll do my job. The reason he wins so many tournaments is his shot selection and focus. So anytime that I feel like I lose either one of those two, I'll just ask him and he'll help me out.
I think Russia is going to have a hard time playing us, so I'm looking forward to the event.
Oh, great players. Again, all the kids that do all Johan's drills and stuff, they're all tuned up and ready to go. And I'm sure they look forward to this event just like us, so they're probably ready to go.
И мы продолжаем. База-арена, Москва, Россия, Dreamchallenge 2019. Итак, счет вновь равный, 4-4. Давайте поприветствуем следующий парный матч. Команда США. Шейн Ван Боунинг и Тайлер Стайер. Поприветствуем команду, они ждут ваших аплодисментов. И команда из России. Константин Степанов.
So we're live after a
и
short break.
Максим Дуданец.
And what Konstantin and Maxim were saying during their interview was like our opponents are top players apparently. Tyler is young, and I think this is where we could expect some mistakes from Team USA. At the same time, Shane has all the experience out there, and in the end it all depends on us really. If we play perfect, we win. All the credit to our opponents though. It is all square so far between Team USA and Team Russia at 4 apiece. And we're into our next match of the evening. It's Shane Van Boening and Tyler Styer versus Konstantin Stepanov and Maxim Dudanets.
And we're here at the Bazaar Club in Moscow, and what a pool club it is in here, Mike. I absolutely love it in here. The food's great, and the lighting, it just doesn't feel all dark and dingy. It's just it just seems like a nice environment to be in for the players, and they have to spend obviously a lot of time here.
Thank you for your nice words, Emily. I'm sure you've seen them a lot.
Yes, quite a few.
But nothing compares to the setup Matchroom pool came up with for the US Open recently, I suppose.
I think I've actually, I dye my hair sort of white, whereas I don't think I need to after the US Open because of the grey hairs that you get from it, even at my age. But no, it was what a fantastic event it was, and I think all of us at Matchroom needed a good little time off after that event.
By the way, we know that Matchroom is back into this kind of multi-table setup. What about going for round robin as a next step?
Well, one step at a time, I think. But we are returning with the US Open next year in Vegas, April the 13th to the 18th at Mandalay Bay in Vegas.
Макс, помоги, что-то сломалось здесь опять. А вот так не занимается.
So Jeremy, the big oaf, came back in and messed around with the entire audio setup and muted us all. So apologies on that. I'm only joking. Jeremy just tripped and sort of fell on it.
Yeah, I suppose all of us are on now.
So we're here for our second doubles match of the evening.
First look at Maxim today. It'll also be our first look at Tyler Styer and SVB. Well, I'll tell you, Stepanov looks very comfortable, and Maxim with a big point last night to end day one, to even the score at three points apiece.
I'm sort of going back on my Mosconi Cup knowledge in 2018, Jeremy, if Tyler and Shane played doubles at all. So I feel like it's quite a different pairing as such. You know, him and Styer play so well together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite interested to see how these two play.
Yeah, I don't recall them playing. Of course, like we talked about last night, some of it gets a little distorted after such a high-stressed week. But you want to see different combinations, and not only that, how much does it bode well for Tyler to get in those big moments with arguably the best player in the world?
Yeah, certainly the experience of just playing in a doubles match with him. And takes the 9 ball there to take the first rack of this match. And so Russia will be leading 1-0 against Team USA.
And I can't say it's anything like last year at Ali Pali, at least not yet, but my heart rate's going up, I tell you, that's for sure.
I'm sitting here sweating for
yeah,
Team
me
USA.
too.
Normally I'm on the fence and I don't have a team to pick, so I apologise, Mike, but I am obviously rooting for Team USA.
Well,
I'm quite all right about that.
Yeah, because he's rooting for Russia, so there you go.
I have told Alan, the coach, that I am rooting against them, so...
Oh, Alan understands, and what a great guy he is. I love that guy.
And so here's Maxim's stats from the Dream Challenge overall.
Yes, he is the guy winning both matches he was involved in during the previous day.
Yeah, and that was our other heel-heel match that we had discussed. Okay, Maxim to break off here in game number 2. Okay, a little movement on the 9. The corner ball almost went, and now exactly what USA needed besides that 4-7 tying up on the side rail. They have a nice starter on the 1. I'm not so sure he can shoot the 3 and get at the 4-7 on this slick table. Now that's why SVB is looking at the 2 ball to break out the 4-7 and take some type of long shot on the 3. There's danger there though. And the reason why I say there's danger is because of the 6. If you don't contact the 4-7 coming across off the 2 just really how you want, you could have issues. Okay, so with that angle, you're going to see SVB go off into this 4-7, I think. Now here's a guy that played perfect yesterday, no mistakes. And not to try and jinx him, but usually when he starts an event like that, it stays like that.
Well, you know, Shane is obviously the guy pulling Team USA through these Dream Challenge events.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Team USA. Don't say that, Mike.
Okay, so if the 4 goes, he's got to cut on the 3. He's got to bank on the 3 also. That is a little flat, in my opinion. The cut on the 3, the only concern really is the 8. If you hit it a touch thin or the spin doesn't quite check, you could also have a problem with the 6 going back and forth. So a touchy shot here. Well, he went for the bank. Wow.
Nice shot. I mean, I found that super impressive.
No, that was
you're
great.
a casual pool fan.
No,
And
you're
we're about
supposed
to
to.
see another great shot because there is a need to go all the way back to the 5.
Yeah, well, I talk about Shane in a lot of ways, different ways, but when it comes to powering a ball, there's definitely nobody else I'd rather have shooting it. We talk about Jeffrey DeLuna with all that stroke, but also under the pressure. I like this guy.
Jeff DeLuna in the US Open was so impressive. We just find him such an entertaining player to watch as well.
Yeah, and he had a big tournament with the World Cup also,
Yes,
finishing runner-up. Yeah. Now, Tyler's a little worried about when he knocks this 5 away and tries to replace the cue ball underneath the 9, maybe he lucks the 6 in on accident. That was the concern, but nice touch there. So immediately here to playing in a high-pressure situation for Tyler, you might say, playing with SVB. He's had 2 shots, a bank on the 3 that he hit really nice, and then probably even a tougher shot holding the cue ball up underneath the 9.
He's got a nice sense of confidence here, Tyler. Not too much, not you know, not too little.
Okay, he's got to get it up quickly. So any miss hit on the cue ball here, it curves, and you usually don't pocket the ball. So he needs a square hit. Okay.
Couldn't get any more fouls than that.
That's right. He's on 2 from 1 shot, is what Emily's saying. Not only contacting the 9, but losing the cue ball in the side pocket. And that's one thing that I think also bode well for Tyler is at times we talked about yesterday passing up on a few shots, playing safe, where he's playing with a man that stays aggressive. And that's really how you win titles.
This is where experience really comes into play.
Oh, absolutely.
And once again, this is what was mentioned by Team Russia during the pre-match interview. Shane's got all the experience out there.
Well, you know, just like the Mosconi Cup also, you can't play the same combination every doubles match. So we have to change some things up, trying to figure out for later in November, not only trying to win this title, but later in November, what might be the mix.
Speaking of Mosconi Cup, Emily, is there a chance we could see Team Asia in contention somehow?
Oh, now you're being nosy, aren't you, Mike?
Yes.
Potentially. I think there's definitely demand out there for Team Europe versus Team Asia. And we're getting a little bit excited about it because we're sort of looking at what players would be in the teams and, you know, should it be a winning Europe Mosconi Cup team? No, let's, you know, get 5 new players as such. But it's early days. It's definitely on our minds at the moment. So everyone should really just stay tuned for a potential Asia versus Europe matchup.
Well, it's, you know, one of the powerhouses in the world of pool, that being, you know, the entire Asia continent, you might say. Hard to keep them out of the mix when it comes to the biggest events in the world.
So here we got Tyler breaking. He uses a Predator cue as a player. Tip diameter 12.9 and the tip is Predator Victory medium. The cue is weighing 18.5 ounces.
Okay, if the 3 doesn't tie up, these guys have a really nice starter, and I think it does go by the 5, even though it may be tight. Now the 4 ball, the 4-6 combination may be played because if the 3's kind of tight, you don't want to shoot it with a bunch of angle. You want to be kind of straight in on it. And if that's the case, that may lead on to a 4-6 combination rather than just playing position on the 4. Okay, he gained that angle on the 3, so he should be able to slide over between the 4 and 8. Plenty of pocket on the 3. Thing is here, don't let that easy drawing table get you to where the cue ball comes into the 8. Okay, nice control.
And just to confirm, guys, the overall score at the moment is 1-all.
And 4 square overall.
Shane's just going to pinch the cue ball up. Now, Shane arrived here, I think, before the employees this morning.
He was here early?
Well, yeah, he was here pretty early. I mean, a good 8 or 9 hours before the event started. Wow. And that is a la Shane.
Yeah, and the venue is open 24/7.
24/7?
Yeah.
Gosh. and free pool it is as well. People can come in and they don't have to pay to play, so it's a great venue for it.
I think there are some months it actually closes by midnight, but maybe half of the year.
Well, and that's not just for the people that are trying to be the best players in the world. That's for your recreational players as well, because you never know who's going to take a liking and end up becoming a world champion. We saw some youths in here today, a couple of brothers that.
I saw the young kids that were here, and it's great to see them. They're sort of walking around with their gloves and the cues, and it is fantastic to see it.
And they can play a little bit too. So I didn't catch their names, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna be seeing them, at least one of them, maybe in a Dream Challenge some years down the road.
So that's 2-1 to Team USA.
So both the guys looking very good, very solid.
And so here at the Dream Challenge, it is a race to 10 overall across 3 days.
Well, once again, Emily, what do you think of that?
Plus 20 on Rax 1, and it races to 5.
It's already actually plus 25 following the day 2, and it's 9-2.
Well,
so basically, myself saying about like Shane pulling the whole team through is not very far from being true.
And I think just most importantly, looking at that, I can't believe Shane's 36 years old. He should be retiring soon, right, Jeremy?
Right. I'm sure many would love it if he did, but
yeah, all the players would love it.
I think he won his first U.S. Open in 2007, is that correct? So some 12 years ago, winning at a young age.
So we have Konstantin Stepanov breaking in the cue. He is using his pitch hour with Predator 314 shots.
Watch out for the cue ball. Oh, he got a nice kiss on the 6 to help out the cue ball from going off in the side. So Maxim's got a little bit of a tester on the 2, one he should make. And he's got to have nice speed on the cue ball. Now, one thing that's helping him is if he does get a little out of line on the 3 going back and forth, you can see the 7 down by the lower right-hand corner on your screen now. That kind of makes the pocket pretty big for the 3. So really, this is the shot here, as long as he doesn't end up behind the 5. Oh, he's overcut it. And that's where you have to know the rail is your friend. From that angle, Michael, meaning the ball will slide so nicely on these slick conditions that overcutting it is really the only way these types of guys can really miss it.
And just to note that Max the Tash is out back practicing because he will be up next against Fedor Gorst, which this will be the first time that we see him in a singles match for this event, which I'm very interested to see because he is obviously a contender for our Team USA Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, and probably with the least amount of experience on this type of equipment. And he had a couple of mistakes yesterday. One of them, I don't really consider his fault too much. He didn't mishit the ball. He just, again, the conditions got him. That being that scratch on the 4 in the side pocket. He missed a 10 that, he regrets. Where I think Corey, I believe it was him and Corey that had a good chance to win that match.
And I hate to point out Max's age, of course, but what's his experience like in these kind of conditions and at these events? He did play in the US Open, obviously, but like being at the Mosconi or the Whirlpool Masters.
Yeah, well, pretty minimal as a whole. And he's been a great player for a long time, but there's many great players. There's, in any tournament, there's only one guy that can win or another guy that can take second. So it's a very difficult meaning he played in an error also, or 2 errors, you might say. It was very difficult to win tournaments. There were so many great players.
Sure.
Well, yesterday, Corey and Max seemed being so comfortable that, believe it or not, they were the only ones who didn't take their extension at all during the Scotch doubles match.
Wow. Well, you
got a
got
little stat, Mike.
Yeah, he's got
all of them. How do you remember that one? I can barely remember what I eat for breakfast in the morning.
I have someone making some points for me.
Okay.
There you go. Well, we all need an assistant. You're the only one.
Or a caddy.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And so that's 3-1 to Team USA.
Yeah, so a lot of pressure now on Team Russia.
So race to 5 format each match. So very similar to the Mosconi Cup.
And I like that. I think you and I had talked about different formats. I think eventually on the pro, like a real tour, I think it may eventually go to something like 2 out of 3 races to 5 in the big tournaments where you're having 128 players, because I like that pressure right from the get.
Sure.
And if you get a little unlucky in the first set, you get to start over in the second set and so on.
And Shane here to break, who is no stranger to breaking well.
Oh, well, those didn't open very well at all.
Obviously, I just jinxed it, didn't I?
Yeah, no luck on that one, and he's given up a little bit of a cross-side bank on the 1. I don't think the 4 is in the way. I think he can go offensive here and kind of bring the cue ball back up underneath the 2 for maybe the side pocket, the same side pocket on the 2.
I see they need to break up the 7 and the 8.
Yeah.
In case they decide to go for the run out.
Yeah, definitely some congestion here, and this is where a real tidy cue ball comes in hand. That's going to go long on him. And again, that's the adjustment you have to make on the new felt. So a rare mistake from Stepanov.
So funny enough, on our Champion of Champions snooker event, it's a 7-day tournament, and into the semi-finals we actually recloth the table. And just thinking about it in pool, it's something that we've actually never done before. But obviously on a 7-day event that we do for snooker, we change that cloth. I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Jeremy? Would you ever do that in like in a pool tournament, a long event on one TV table?
Well, it actually happened at the Matchroom's World Championships event in Cardiff. They actually refelted all the tables many days, but
that cost a fortune.
I personally like it breaking in a little bit and getting a little tougher nearing the finals.
Okay.
I think most of the players appreciate that as well. But either is fine, because again, the new felt really brings another tough, difficult element that you have to allow for.
Well, maybe we should do it then.
Well, I'm not going to make that decision. You make that decision, of course. But it is an interesting thing as far as doing that. In fact, I watched it, I believe, in one of the other snooker events, maybe. Maybe
yeah,
it was that one.
It's a common thing that they do
maybe
in
in
snooker,
Shanghai
so
they did it, I think.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if it's obviously just something that happens in that sport as such, and obviously it's different in pool, but, you know, being a player yourself, Jeremy, it's got to ask these questions, haven't we?
Yeah, well, I guess the kiss shot on the 8 is playable, Michael, because these guys aren't really... They really haven't talked about some type of breaking out the 7-8.
It's definitely there, Jeremy.
Yeah, that meaning kissing off the 7 just a little bit, making the 8. Now the problem is the cue ball's probably going to rest on the bottom rail, so you're going to have to make some type of shot coming off the bottom rail, knocking the 7 all the way up in the corner.
You know, I don't see that being much of a problem, because like the the cut on the 6 is still there. Of course, he will have to send the cue ball around.
No, I'm saying when he makes the kiss shot, on the 7 and the 8, the cue ball is going to rest on this bottom rail, and the 7's going to go upward, right? So he's going to probably have to come with a pretty nice shot on the 7 if that's the plan. Okay, could have been a hair better there. He caught the 5 to the top side of the pocket. So what happened there is the cue ball, when you miss the pocket, as far as you don't hit the center or the part you want, you don't quite get the position. Okay, but he's fairly straight to the upper right, so, and he doesn't really have to hit it hard to hold the cue ball, I don't think. Is he playing safe here behind the 9? Makes me think so with, oh, he's going all the way up. He's got a short side position is what he's trying to do on the 7, and how good does this guy play? Okay.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
and it's not a scratch. He can cut this in and still glance off the 8. He's not going to scratch with top English.
It's nice to see these two talking amongst each other, to just obviously talk through the rack and these shots.
Yeah, now if he hits this without side English, he could scratch off the 8, because that left spin will make the cue ball want to kind of jerk off the 8 a little bit. So he needs to either hit it with straight or a hair of inside, actually. Watch out. Okay, asking for a little bit of luck. And
yeah, very fine there.
Well, I think that was a smart play. It looked a little bit dangerous, but I think if they just cut it in, the 8 was going to lay on the bottom rail and the cue ball was going to come up for no offensive shot.
The shot clock buzzer was on for Tyler. And actually, speaking of shot clock once again, it was actually Tyler taking the most of them. Like yesterday, he played 9 racks and he took his extension 7 times.
Yeah, he was playing quite slower in the Kremlin Cup final, wasn't he, Jeremy? We were discussing that.
Yeah, and he's a man that likes to have a lot of information before he gets down on the ball. Not so much measuring this like that, but he wants to know, okay, I'm making the ball over here, the cue ball wants it there, and if there's a problem on a future ball, he thinks about it, which is a good thing. But of course, with the shot clock, which is going to be a constant thing in professional pool, you have to learn to manage.
So here is Tyler Styer's stats. Obviously, after the previous day, it went a little bit worse, like being 1-4 in terms of matches won and lost. But here, so far, he is on the road to victory. The cue he is playing with is Predator, 12.9 millimeters. Once again, deep Predator victory, medium.
Okay, so again, a lot of pressure on Team Russia. And you might even say the opposite now that they're trailing 4-1 in this match, that you might say, hey, let's just get loose. Let's just, relax and still use your brain a little bit, but don't worry so much.
And that's where you'd find some players maybe taking more of the riskier shots for the reward as such. Basically going for like the combos, that's what I want to see.
Well, it's easy to do when you're trailing. You want to make up the game quickly sometimes, and you can make a bad decision behind it. But these guys are pretty good professionals here, even though Maxim is a young man.
And it's good to obviously mention how experienced and how professional obviously these players are, and they're such at this world-class level. And I spoke with you about it, Jeremy, during the Kremlin Cup final. It's actually just so impressive, I find, personally, to just see the stamina that goes into it, how much mentality, they have to think about all of these shots and in the short amount of time that they have, and how they have to adapt to different conditions and different scenarios, and then be with partners and play on your own. It's
traveling, all that.
Yeah, it's very tough, and hats off to them, because I wouldn't be able to go out there and have that shot clock right on in my ear.
Costa looking very puzzled there, with one ball being blocked.
Yeah, and
that's a rollout.
And the thing is, we have our guys that dominate the sport a little bit. One of them in your screen right there on the left, Shane. But most of the guys, if they have one big win a year, that's a big deal.
Sure.
So you have to keep grinding, even though you're not always getting the results you want.
And that's why it's so important that these tournaments improve, and it's great to see that events within the last year have all been improving as well, and prize money, because this is such a great sport, and we should be growing it to a higher level, and turning these players into the celebrities that they are.
Sure. Yeah, it's such an international sport as well. Oh, wow. And that may have been some of that free swing we were talking about.
Just loosening up and going with your instinct.
Yeah, and whether it turns out for this match or not, these guys are going to be needed as this event goes on. So
Stepanov is so good at these thin cuts. Actually, he's got a channel on YouTube, and I think this shot is there. He performs some kind of back cuts.
Right. Oh, well, that was definitely one of them. Now the cue ball got a nice kiss on the 3. I thought it was going to help him, but it actually gave up a little bit of a shot on the 2, and I think fairly natural position coming across the table for the 3. He's got to get all the way over to the other side rail. Now Shane is the one. They passed the rollout, so Shane can come back to the table. I think he may be a little worried about his speed control coming across the table and just laying on that side rail where he's looking at now. And one thing that that speed, it looks like to me, it really makes the pocket a lot bigger on the 2. He's got a little room for error. So probably a winning shot here for this match if he can get this down and gain position on the 3. It looks like perfect speed on the cue ball. He wants to almost rest it on the rail.
He's just so strong in these kind of formats and just in general, isn't he, Shane? But especially on this kind of level and in something like the Mosconi Cup race to 5 format and in these conditions.
And in an instant, as soon as Shane makes this ball down, the heart rate for a Russian duo goes a little bit up.
Or maybe non-existent at all.
Just maybe saying bye-bye to this very match.
Right.
And because like this wreck seems to be running from them.
Well, like you were talking about, Emily, about Shane, that, you know, last year being the first time I was involved in any type of, you know, coach aspect, the vice coach with Johan, you know, you watch the social media and stuff. It's part of just life these days in business and sports and everything.
It consumes us, I think.
Yeah, it can. And, you know, there were so many out there that were like, well, look at Shane's record in the past, this, that, maybe he should be on the team. And, you know, I couldn't be just further from that myself.
Yes,
I'm like, I don't care if he ever wins a point. He's going to, you know, if he's in form like he is, you know he's going to eventually be there. Okay, that one he didn't hit as well as he normally would. Didn't quite get the inside English.
Well, maybe we have you to thank, Jeremy. Your first time that you were involved in Team USA, and they won last year. So, well, let's hope so for this year too.
Right. Well, I think it was a true team effort. And
it was.
Talked about it yesterday that, you know, these guys, I think, learn different types of things from Johan and I, and then also they learn from each other. And I think that was the biggest key, is trusting each other.
And Shane about to take this rack here to go 5-1 over Team Russia, which takes our overall score 5-4. Team USA are in the lead in a race to 10 format at the ABNbilliards Dreamchallenge.
Yeah, and last year I could reflect that some things that, at least for me, you know, like when Styer and Albin were playing that match the last day, and you had that jump shot. Well, I thought to myself, as far as our team, I couldn't imagine anybody better than Styer shooting that. And then for the winning combination, it was the exact same thing. I was like, I hope he shoots this combo, because I can't imagine anybody else on the planet I'd rather have shooting it than Shane Van Boening. Yeah.
So as you can see, our next match is singles between Max Haberle and Fedor Gorst. Stay tuned.